Um, for our Burmese listener, မြန်မာပြည်ကိုကျွန်တော်အရင်တည်ရတယ်အခုလိုမျိုးအချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တို့ကျွန်တော်ညီကိုမမနဲ့မတွေ့ရမှအများအားလုံးကိုကျွန်တော်စိတ်မှာအများရှိတယ်ကျွန်တော်နှလုံးသားမှာအများရှိတယ်အားလုံးနဲ့အတူဒီအချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်စိတ်မကောင်းဘူးအားလုံးကျေးဇူးပြုရနော်ချစ်ချင်းမြတ်တာပြပေးပါချစ်ချင်းမြတ်တာကျွန်တော်ရဲ့ဆုတောင်းပေးပါအဲ့ဒါပြီးတော့အားလုံးကိုကျွန်တော်အရင်ယူတယ်အားလုံးအရင်လေးစားတယ်မချမီပြန်တွေ့ရအောင်ကျွန်တော်ပြောချင်ပါတယ်
You said you do stuff, you ask things that aren't Googleable, and that's why this podcast has become popular and successful. You're enjoying it, and you're also benefiting from the knowledge that people are dropping.
I just watched the Teal Tang fight, and I have I don't know if I know you're aware of what happened. He lost a unanimous decision, but the article reads the headline of this article, man, and I was waiting to watch it because it aired last night in Sydney at like 1 a.m. But I have early morning clients Saturday morning, so I couldn't stay up and watch it. And it says, while North Americans slept, One Championship hosted a banger of a fight between Teal Tang and Song Minjong for Singapore. The bout was one of 6 fights, easily the fight of the year contender. So on that note, I want to talk about maybe how did you feel that fight went for Teal? How do you think he performed? And just let's start there, just because he fought less than 12 hours ago.
Yeah, well, in the beginning of the bout, when the referee, when Dominic Lau, the ring announcer, was announcing his name, I can tell something was off. Just look at the last 3 fights that he did. Look how his eyes were and how way he was looking at, and then watch this fight. Look where his eyes were. Like he wasn't in his right state of mind.
Do you think? Now I can make speculation. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I mean, in my opinion, one of his greatest moments as a pro for fighting for one was when you and Martin walked him into that fight, and he had like this coming out party. And research shows since the beginning of time, humans react at a certain level, and we live at a more optimized level when we're around those who support us and when we're around those who show us love. Do you think it had anything to do with you guys not being able to be there?
Yeah, I mean, you cannot, like, it's a professional athlete. I understand that as a professional athlete, we train our bodies to be able to perform at a stressful level, at high stress situations. And that's what we try to do. But as a human being, yes, me not being there was an issue for him. Me not, being in his corner is an issue for him. And there are other things that happen, fight week that really messed him up, especially with what's going on in his state, and that's that really plays an effect on how he performed that night.
Man, and that's something that the media, the international MMA media, I think hopefully in the future could do a better job with. I don't know the right answer to where I'm trying to get at, but for the fight fans, the average fight fan, all they see is the fighter either win or lose. And unfortunately, MMA fans are so catty and they're so kind of like they forget about somebody's whole career. They judge fighters on what have you done for me lately. And when you have a fighter who may be going through all of this stuff, family, persecution, injustices, and he still has to be relied upon to perform for his career, and things don't go his way, nobody knows. Like, he's just left alone. That's why they say, I guess, the fight game is it could be the loneliest place on earth.
Yeah, and it's also very unforgiving too. It's very, very unforgiving. And how you perform in your last bout, or your last performance is measured as what dictates who you are, you know, and that's not true. That's not true at all, you know.
Yeah, I get upset with that because I you know, doing what I do, you know, this show, the books I've written, you know, a huge part of my life since 1993. I always tell people there hasn't been, and I come from a football, baseball, basketball background in America, but there hasn't been any other sport in our generation that came around while we were alive, except mixed martial arts.
That's
So,
true. That's
so
true.
when I run across these fans or these people who've only been part of the sport maybe the last 5 years or even the last 10 years, and you see on these online forums the miseducation of the mindset of that fan, man, I take it personal. I try not to spend a lot of energy in those forums, but it's kind of like, I know there's a lot of good journalists out there. I mean, not many, but there's a few who try to educate the masses on a fighter's body of work, a fighter's career, the focus it takes, to the bravery it takes to even get in there, the discipline. Even me, the average person will never understand what you guys go through to even put your body in a position to go through hell.
Yeah, and I think like the training, you know, as I'm passionate about, you know, mixed martial arts, and the training is what, you know, gets us better. And for me, the training is pretty enjoyable, you know, or else I wouldn't be a mixed martial artist. But the performance part is what, you know, what's stressful,
Okay.
and what gets to a lot of, you know, like a lot of fighters too, you know, a lot of the fighters. So the training is fun. Like people train for fun all the time, but being able to compete in front of high stress situation is something that's very hard, you know. And we have to go through that every time we compete. You know, for me, it's after 40 fights. Like for me, after like over 40 fights, it's still stressful, but it's like something that I can manage very well now.
I shared a video on my YouTube channel of one of your first huge wins in America. You were 9-7 at the time. You were fighting in Bellator, and you fought a guy named Jesus Martinez. And this was at a catch weight of 175. The reason why I shared the video and I did a little bit of audio behind it is because you finished the fight within 37 seconds, ground and pound. But in that 37 seconds, it was kind of a microcosm of what your career would turn out to be. You walk in there, you bring the energy, you get faced with early adversity, you overcome the guy lands that overhand right, flash knockdown.
Drops you on that butt.
Yep.
Drops you on that butt. And let me tell you, this is what I was thinking. Oh no, this is not happening to me again. Not tonight. That's what's going through my head.
You can see it in your face. You can you go boom. And he thought you were hurt. He goes reckless. And
no, I was like,
were you hurt?
It was a flash knockdown. Yeah, it was a flash knockdown for sure.
Okay.
Because I cut so much weight for that fight, you know, that weight cut affects how you perform. You know, the weight cuts, like the weight cut, it doesn't allow me to absorb punishment like I usually do.
For sure.
You know, it takes
the
away.
Headshots.
It takes away. Yep, it takes away from the kind of fighter I am. I'm like a tank. I'm very head on, you know. But that weight cut takes something out of that, you know.
Yeah, I call you. For my the people that I meet who become, you know, gets dropped in my circle throughout the years, who only know like UFC, and I start talking about you. I'm like, Aung La's a meat grinder. I'm like, he is the grinder, and then his opponent gets dropped into it, and it's just, that's how I describe you when you fight, like a meat grinder. I mean, you're more eloquent than that, but in terms of what the outcome usually is, I feel like that's the best way. That's how I describe you.
Yeah.
But
you know, everyone has their own style, and not everybody can be that style. Like if I try to be that quick little fast guy, you know, I can't. I just physically cannot do it. You know, and that's why you kind of have to learn your style, and you kind of have to make the techniques your own. You know. Like a good trainer knows that. A good trainer knows that, and a good trainer will give you stuff, and then see which one works best for you, and then you have to make it your own.
I'm glad Yep. I'm glad you brought that up because I was watching you and Henry work on a combination down at Sanford recently on, I think either Hoofed put it up or you shared it or one of your fan groups shared it. But you're working on the cross, the two lead hook, right uppercut, left uppercut combo, and you're firing it lead hand first, and then you expand your base. You're not staying narrow when you throw it. So by the time you throw that lead uppercut, that last punch to finish the combo, your head is off the midline and you've almost circled around. And it's so different, the striking system, from what that looked like compared to 5 years ago watching you. Is that something you mean? Was that a newer video, or am I finding older content?
No, it's a newer video, of course. Like when you train alongside guys like Tyrone Spong, like, come on, he's a legend.
Yep.
Your skill set's bound to improve.
Your hips look so much. You're still evolving in that striking component of maneuverability of the body when you're throwing. That's something that I've noticed mostly with your striking is things are looking like fluent. It's pretty cool to see as you're evolving.
And when I stop evolving, when I stop getting better, it's when I'm going to stop fighting. I feel like my ceiling is still. I haven't reached my ceiling yet. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but
your potential.
It is a race against time. It is a race against time. But I still don't think that I've reached my peak potential.
For sure. It's one of those things that you could see in a fighter if a fighter is evolving, or if they've become complacent, or if they're starting to digress a bit. And with your resume, with what in 2012, the fight we spoke about, you were 9-7. Your record now is something I don't know off heart. I'm sure, but the point is you've become
27 and 12. Yeah, but 27 and 12.
So you're almost like 20-4 since that date, something along those lines. But you become a world champion in multiple weight divisions. If you look at other fighters, and I don't like comparing fighters' careers, that would have been enough to not work on new skills, not evolve, not take a couple losses and want to get better, not be hungry anymore. What we saw against Leandro in your last fight, man, that was a chip on your shoulder. That was an edge. That was you letting your opponent, for the first time I could see, you letting your opponent in the fight know that you were trying to fucking show him that you were the alpha in there. Like you looked annoyed in a good way.
For sure. Like in the previous interview that they asked him like why I haven't fought him, and he said in the line of like, I don't know his exact words, but he said, I don't know, maybe he's scared, he's scared of me, and that's what annoyed me. It annoyed me because if you know the people that I train with, and if you know the adversity I've faced, like how can I be scared of another man at the same weight class? Like I spar with heavyweights. Like I train with heavyweights. How can I be scared of a middleweight? So that's what annoyed me. And him really thinking that I was scared of him was like a chip on my shoulder almost. And I don't. And that's what went through my head a lot when I was about to walk out and said, this guy thinks I'm scared of him. I'm gonna go show him I'm not. That's what. When I walked in the cage, that's the kind of mindset I was going into.
Have you ever been comfortable enough to fight like that? Because some analysts will talk about, so-called experts, it's not wise for a fighter to bring into the octagon sort of emotions. They talk about when Conor was coming up, one of the things that made him good was his psychological warfare. He was able to get under the skin of his opponent, a la Josie Aldo fight, made him change his style, countered him. You show the other side of that. You were able to channel that and use it in a positive sense. Have you ever had to do this before with an opponent?
Yeah, of course. Especially when I fight in Myanmar, there's a lot of expectations, and sometimes that energy is negative. So when it's a negative energy where I'm like, oh man, they're all watching me, they expect me to win. Oh man, I need to win. This is if I don't win, I'm gonna mess everybody's hopes, and I'm gonna be letting all
that's
these
a lot
people
of pressure,
down.
man. That's a lot of pressure, bro.
I walk in the stadium, everybody wants me to win. The security people wants me to win. When I go in the bathroom, people are like wishing me luck, taking selfies with me. That's a lot of stress, Those things, if you put it in your head, it's gonna tear you up.
How do you control that?
So just focus on my breathing. Focus on making sure I'm breathing out.
Hicks and Gracie style.
Being in the moment, being aware of where I am. Like I'm in the Duana arena. I'm here, right now, being in the moment. Because if you time travel in your head, right? This is what one of my sports psychologists said. If you time travel, you're not going to be in the moment, and then you're not going to see the shots that are coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean?
I have a degree in sports psychology. That's what I went to college for.
Really?
Sports psych,
you won't see that jab. You won't see that right hand. You won't know what to do because you're thinking about something else. The future.
You have to be laser focused.
Yeah.
Now, is that because with psychology, habits and points of reference usually will help. So when you're walking into the cage, your name gets called. You have that. You're in the checkpoint area. You have that. The octagon door closes. You have that.
I kneel down.
Yep.
I'll kneel down in the cage and I go to my right side. No.
Yep.
Yeah. I got about 10 minutes of 10% of battery left. So.
Oh, okay. So we'll get. So all right, I'll edit that out, and then we'll get to the one thing I wanted to really cover. We talked to mental game plan, window frame, personal advice. Here we go. So advice to left-way fighters in Myanmar. I wanted to cover a little bit, coming from a guy like yourself, born and raised in Myanmar. One of my buddies, Kenneth Black, he's a up-and-comer, 25 years old there, and they haven't been able to fight in over 2 years because of the virus and, the modern landscape. What sort of advice would you give the sport of Lethwei, your country of Myanmar, and my buddy Kenneth on overcoming these things and sort of words of wisdom coming from you? And if you want, maybe do this one in Burmese.
So first of all, for young guys like Kenneth, focus on what you can control and what's in front of you, and focus on getting better at your craft. For me, it's mixed martial arts, and I try to be the best, like the best in the world in this craft. And for Myanmar leatherweight fighters, try to make the craft of leatherweight better. If that's your passion, focus on that. Make it sustainable. Make it something that you can do. If you can afford an hour a day, put an hour a day for it. Make it sustainable and make it so that you can keep going and keep growing. For our Burmese listener, မြန်မာပြည်ကိုကျွန်တော်အရင်တည်ရတယ်အခုလိုမျိုးအချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တို့ကျွန်တော်ညီကိုမမနဲ့မတွေ့ရဘူးအမြဲအားလုံးကိုကျွန်တော်စိတ်မှာအမြဲရှိတယ်ကျွန်တော်နှလုံးသားမှာအမြဲရှိတယ်အားလုံးနဲ့အတူဒီအချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်စိတ်မကောင်းဘူးအားလုံးကျေးဇူးပြုရနော်အချင်းချင်းချစ်ချင်းမြတ်တာပြပေးပါချစ်ချင်းမြတ်တာကျွန်တော်ရဲ့ဆုတောင်းပေးပါအဲ့ဒါပြီးတော့အားလုံးကိုကျွန်တော်အရင်ယူတည်တယ်အားလုံးအရင်လေးစားတယ်မကြမီပြန်တွေ့ရအောင်လို့ကျွန်တော်ပြောချင်ပါတယ်
Awesome, man. And then I know you got to run. One more thing. Is there any, I know if you're able to share, when could your fans, everyone listening and watching, what's the news around your next fight? Is there anything in the works that you could share, or who would you want?
September 24th, September 24th, my buddy, Martin Nguyen from, he's Vietnamese Australian. He'll be competing in the one circle again on September 24th in Singapore. If somebody falls out, I might be in there, but we'll see.
Okay.
Not very likely, but I'm training right now as if.
Okay.
And then and the fans, if September doesn't work out, it'll be November.
And what else is there to do? Before we let you go as well, is your career is it at 185 or is it 205, or do you like going back and forth?
No, we're strictly staying at middleweight now.
All right,
We're gonna stay
brother.
in the middle. We have maybe a trilogy match between Big Dash and I. Maybe Yoshi Okami in November, or whoever one championship thinks is a good matchup. I'll do, and then we'll get ready and we'll get back in that title shot. So.
And how about Dark Aung La? Dark Aung La Rises. What's that all about?
I don't know.
All right,
I guess they're talking about this beard.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy dude. We'll be keeping in contact. And thank you.
Stay in touch.
All right.
Stay in touch. I'd love to talk to you again.
Thanks, brother.